Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pash On podcast. Let's get started with your host, Brian Pash.
Hi, this is Brian Pash, and welcome to another podcast. On today's show, we have the pleasure of sitting down with Kerri Wise. She's the VP of Industry Relations and Education at TrueCar. Kerri, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me on, Brian.
Well, Kerri, there has been a number of changes in all industry companies that serve auto dealers. TrueCar obviously has had a number of changes as well, including a rebrand that was announced at NADA, but a number of other changes that are really helping dealers in this COVID period and, well, as we reinvent automotive retail. Before we jump into those specifics, tell me why a rebrand? What was the thinking behind the new logo, the new color palette? Give us a little feedback on that.
Well, there were a couple things that we were thinking about when it came to the rebrand. I mean, certainly you see companies change their logos, but we definitely felt there had to be a purpose behind that. And for us, it was about targeting a new segment. You know, when you looked at our consumer base on TrueCar, we were actually very heavily skewed towards men. And we saw an opportunity that we needed to expand that to females because, as you know, women, influence 80% of car buying. And they're a very important segment. And in addition, millennials as well. And young people, we would ignore kind of their impact in the past. And, you heard things about them not buying cars, but now millennials are becoming parents and they're having kids. And so they're also an important target for us. And so we felt that not only with a new refreshed logo, but also a new ad campaign that targeted these segments, the rebrand was critical to that. And so we changed our logo. You can see it's a lot more lively and fun. And we also changed our advertising to really feature more women and other segments of the population. And we've seen a lot of success in terms of changing the demographics of our consumer base.
Great. Well, that's important to know. I think that refreshing brands is very important, especially if you've noticed a skewing of your visitor base. It isn't aligned with larger industry trends. So bravo to that. I do love the new logo.
Thank you. One other thing that also was important for us is just to stand out in what we would say is a sea of sameness in automotive. I mean, if you look at many automotive logos, I remember looking out at the floor at NADA, and there was one color that you saw more than any other color. I'll let you guess, Brian. What color do you think I mainly saw across the NADA floor?
Was it orange?
No, it was not orange. It was actually blue.
Blue?
I mean, if you look at many of the third parties out there, many of the automotive companies, you see blue.
That's right.
And so in a male-dominated space, it's not a surprise that we tend to lean towards blue. But the reality is that, when 50% of the customers are women, even more influencing the sale, that isn't necessarily what resonates. And so you look at some of the digital companies like Google, they're using rainbow colors, and
that's right.
Lyft is hot pink, and Airbnb, I think it's peach. These digital companies are not traditional masculine colors. And so we took a little note on that it's important to kind of stand out. And a logo, colors, and ad campaign are just one way of doing that.
I'm going to have to get to work, Kerri. My logo is blue and white. Okay. There we go. Now I have homework from you. Okay. So two things I want to focus on for our podcast, because you are part of a series called The Road to DMSC, and we're looking forward to converging in the Napa Valley in July to talk about automotive retail reinvented. And a few things that we're learning from COVID is that it took a pandemic to change retail trends, which includes dealers' willingness to show payments online and to serve customers instead of chasing them. And it's so good to see how quickly TrueCar has pivoted with your new payments product. So let's put it in perspective, and then I'll let you explain the benefits to dealers. Dealers for years have known TrueCar came to market with that upfront price guarantee. Last year, you introduced the ability to provide a trade value through the TrueCar platform. And now, if I'm not incorrect, I think you're the first to offer an upfront price, a trade value, and a personalized payment all within the TrueCar platform, which seems to be aligned with the rush to what some are calling digital retailing. Kerri, explain why you decided to add that third leg of the stool to give consumers an accurate payment.
So we always felt it was important to focus on an end-to-end transaction to enable a consumer to be able to complete all the various aspects of the deal online, because consumers are asking for that. And the reality is that I'm not one to say that consumers want to do everything online like you might hear out there. I think consumers want the choice to do parts of it online, whether it be getting a trade value or getting an upfront price or getting a payment. And so it's always been on our roadmap to offer this end-to-end transaction. In full disclosure, we had plans to do this by the end of summer, but when COVID struck, we felt like we had to expedite our plans. And so we quickly pivoted. When in mid-March, one of the first things we did, or towards the end of March, is that enabled buy from home. So dealers that could offer a complete experience in terms of delivering the car to the consumer's home, doing paperwork online, sanitization. We quickly reached out to those dealers, and for those who were willing to participate, we badged those dealers online as a buy from home dealer. And quickly we have 6,000 of our 15,000 dealers that immediately opted in to this buy from home badging.
I like that.
But yeah, it's pretty amazing. And as you can imagine, when a consumer sees a dealership on amongst other dealers, they're much more likely to interact with the dealers, and especially in this environment, that can offer a buy from home experience. But we also knew we had to take it a step further and enable dealers to not only offer the trade value, as you mentioned, that we launched last year, but the payment is an important piece of that. And it's something that we were missing in the past, because of course getting an upfront price is important, but as you know, many consumers are payment shoppers. And so the payment is what's really driving their purchase. And so we immediately, by April, announced that we were going to expedite and move this payment product forward. And what's great about the payment product is it's driven by the dealership's information. So they're putting in, for example, on a lease payment, their money factor, all of their information in terms of terms, and then we're presenting it to the consumer. And more importantly, we're also badging them. So now a consumer is going to be able to go on the TrueCar experience and see a dealer that has buy from home, that offers an upfront trade value, and now offers payments.
And Kerri, when you talk about badging, I think this is an important point that we need to hear from you on. So dealers in the TrueCar environment and experience will have a badge. They offer a trade value. Now it's going to be, you can get a payment. When you added trade, because you have enough data now from last year, did you see consumers pick dealers that offered upfront price and trade more than dealers who just offered an upfront price? I assume in the current system, they would have one badge or two badges. Was that extra trade badge actually a higher CTR rate?
Yes. So just to give everybody background on how our system works, a year ago, a consumer who went through TrueCar would be just automatically sent to 3 dealers. You didn't really have a choice. We kind of pre-selected or selected the dealers that were appropriate for your search. We've actually changed that in the last months, where a consumer is sent to the closest dealer automatically, but has a choice of the 4 other dealers that they can select. So they're not automatically sent to dealers. They're sent to one, and then they have a choice of 4. So the badging almost has become more important, because the consumer is looking at the value props that are important to them in order to select the dealer. And so when it came to trade, yes, we absolutely saw an increase in the number. If a dealer had a trade badging, they were much more likely to be select. And from a close rate standpoint, we're seeing close rates that are 20% higher for dealers that offer a price and a trade versus the dealers that just offer an upfront price.
Well, that makes sense, Kerri. I mean, when you think about consumers, most have a car they're trading in, or it really depends on the market, right? I was just talking to a dealer, and he was saying about 85% of the people in his market finance. I grew up in New Jersey, and I feel like it's almost the other way around, 70% lease. So especially in these heavy finance markets, the trade is always part of a conversation. I haven't owned a car in, I don't know, 20 plus years, so I never have a trade. So it is important for dealers to understand the importance of merchandising. One of the questions with payments, Kerri, that we need to clarify, you mentioned that the dealer sets their terms, but one of the variables is the credit worthiness of the consumer. In the current model that you're rolling out with the payments badge, is the consumer entering in their own credit score, or are you doing a soft pull? What's the initial release going to look like?
So the initial release is going to be the consumer indicating their credit score, and at some point, I think we'll explore soft pull and kind of getting something that is more, more accurate in that way. But I think right now it's driven by the consumer. And even from a trade standpoint, when the consumers go through our trade product, they're expressing the condition of their trade. So it is subject to the information being correct from the consumer. And from a process standpoint, we're definitely working with our dealers on how you communicate that. The consumer has told us this information. Now we have to confirm whether it's correct or not and reset expectations if it's not.
Well, I will say that the dealers I know, Kerri, that are offering a clear selling price online and tools to customize payments, including trade valuation, are seeing higher quality of engagement on their website. Obviously, the lead is more valuable. It's closing at a higher rate. So it makes sense with the TrueCar brand and the natural traffic that comes to the site that you would imitate the experience that more and more dealers are adding. When will the payments option be fully functional for all TrueCar dealers to turn on?
So we are launching it next week, and so it's happening. It's launching next week. We have about 4,000 of our 15,000 dealers that have opted into the program even prior to it launching. So we are extremely excited about this. And I got to say that COVID was probably part of that, right? The mentality definitely changed, where this might have been an option for some dealers in the past, and now they're realizing, like, I have to have these capabilities because there are going to be consumers that aren't even going to put me on the consideration list unless I have these offerings. So we're really excited about the enthusiasm we're seeing from dealers even prior to it launching. But yes, next week, dealers can sign on.
So we're talking end of May, which is awesome. And so as dealers who are listening to this podcast at some delayed time, you should know that this is something you should turn on. And Kerri, we've talked about a rebranding. Now we're talking about enhanced functionality, which is aligned with the pivot that most dealers are doing themselves on their websites. But we have to talk about the elephant in the corner of the room. Dealers heard that USAA was sunsetting their auto buying program to their members, focusing more on their core insurance products. And that was a great partnership with TrueCar for many years. We know that the military buyers were some of the strongest leads for dealers in the TrueCar program. Yet, I learned today that USAA only has about a third of the total active and retired veterans in their program. So there's 45 million active and retired veterans. They have about 13 million. How do you plan on reconnecting and or really extending your long-term commitment to the military so that dealers can feel good that those military buyers will still be using TrueCar?
Absolutely. So as you know, and for those who aren't familiar, TrueCar powers about 500 different auto buying programs. So we're not just TrueCar.com. And some of those programs, a lot of our focus has been on the military. We've powered USAA, we power PenFed, we power other military organizations. So we've have a decade of experience of servicing the military consumer and the military car buyer. USAA has been an amazing partner for us for over 10 years now. And as you mentioned, they are sunsetting the program at the end of September. And so we thought it was really important that we still continue to service those car buyers that would have went through the USAA program, as you mentioned, 13 million, and really expand the offering because there are 45 million veterans, active service members, and family members out there that are in the market to buy a car. And so we recently launched TrueCar Military. If you go to TrueCar.com/military, you can see the website. And this is a car buying program directly through TrueCar for military service members, veterans, and their family members. And so through this program, the thing that is the value for the military consumer is that we have OEMs that are going to be offering exclusive OEM incentives to military car buyers. And in some cases, these incentives are stackable, right, with the other OEM incentives that are available. And then we're also offering what we're calling a military appreciation package, which offers exclusive ownership benefits only if the military consumer purchases through a TrueCar dealer. So that includes up to $4,000 in ownership benefits. And it's really two parts. It's auto repair reimbursement that is included in the package. It's up to $2,000. And then it's also auto insurance deductible reimbursement. So you get in a car accident, you can go through this program, and that first 2 years of ownership will cover a part of your deductible. So we really feel good, as we say, to serve those who served and to continue not only our experience in servicing the military car buyer, but our passion for this audience. And we feel good about TrueCar Military.
So, Kerri, not every dealer may understand that commitment that you've made to the military. You have that Driven to Drive program, which has really caught my eye. This is just an example of one of the many ways that outside of just USAA, you have made a commitment. What is the Driven to Drive program for people who don't know?
So, yeah, I think in addition to our longstanding relationships in terms of the affinity partnerships, we have a lot of passion for just helping out the military community. And so in 2017, we launched Driven to Drive. And we partnered with nonprofit organizations like Team Red, White, and Blue and Disabled American Veterans to offer this program to enable injured veterans to reclaim their freedom. And a big part of reclaiming their freedom and independence is driving. And so we, over the last couple of years, have given away 4 vehicles to injured veterans. These are retrofitted vehicles, so they're ready for them to drive. And we feel like it's a really important part of our relationship with the military, not just servicing them from a car buying standpoint, but actually improving their lives through this Driven to Drive program. So we're really excited, not just about TrueCar Military, but also as part of TrueCar Military, we will continue Driven to Drive. And one other initiative that we plan on rolling out is a partnership with an organization called Shift, which helps veterans find jobs. And, there's many veterans that work in automotive retail. And so why not take our relationship with dealerships and auto retail and our partnership with Shift and bring those two together and enable veterans to find jobs in auto retail. So that's something we're also going to be launching this year, which is getting veterans in cars, but also getting them jobs in automotive.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Kerri, I'm really glad that we took the time to sit down today, because I think that your ability to pivot, advance your technology, obviously the acquisition of Dealer Science last year gave you the tech, the experience, and the reliability to produce payments and give dealers those controls. So smart acquisition, perfect timing in the delivery. And I love the pivot with going after the military directly so that dealers can have confidence that the quality of shoppers that are going through the TrueCar experience will continue to be very strong. Kerri, DMSC is around the corner. In July, the top dealers who've pivoted and willing to share their stories, the top tech companies like TrueCar that are delivering new solutions. When you look back at the COVID crisis, what do you think one observation you've made that has been a positive for the auto industry as a result of really this very negative event? What is something you think accelerated a positive change for dealers?
The one word that stands out for me when it comes to COVID and what was positive is I think it accelerated our focus on efficiency when it comes to automotive retail. And that's across the board. It's you've always been preaching, Brian, about efficiency in marketing, right? And making sure that you understand where your marketing spend is going, the ROI behind it. And if you think about it, and I've been interviewing several dealers over the last couple of weeks, that many of them are making sure, even more than they were before, that their marketing spend is efficient, because you can't afford to be wasting money, right, on marketing that is not targeting car buyers right now.
That's right.
And the second part is the efficiency in terms of their staff. I talked to a dealer a couple of weeks ago, put his staff on an everyday schedule, right? So they went in every other day. And, he learned a lot, that even with this schedule, they were producing just as much in less time. Mm-hmm. And so I think that we've had to even rethink kind of our staffing, our people, and really getting more out of individuals or using their time more efficiently. So I'm really excited about like the efficiency story, but also excited that we're now focused on remote retailing. We're focused on digital retailing, something that consumers have really been asking for a long time. And now we're actually executing on it. And I hope it sticks.
Yeah, well, Kerri, you hit the nail on the head. I'm talking to dealers who are finding that with 20, 30, even 40% less people, they're selling the same amount of cars. And the theme behind it is they were forced to embrace technology. They were forced to make their staff available to people remotely. Instead of waiting for people to come in and waiting for the up bus, they really pivoted. They started to staff their virtual showroom, their website. They started to feel more comfortable with sharing payments with consumers online. And what they're finding is that a lot of the back and forth, a lot of the days with no response have stopped. And now we're getting really a smoother, faster, more efficient sales process. And every dealer I speak to say, Brian, I will never go back to the same staffing levels. I will not be going back to the same sales process pre-COVID. And that's why DMSC is going to be so important, because dealers who are learning and want to learn more, and dealers who have had some major breakthroughs will be sharing their decisions and the data. And that's what makes this year's DMSC the epicenter to automotive retail reinvented. Dealers who haven't registered for DMSC can go to digitalmarketingstrategies.org and get registered. And as a bonus, premium ticket holders can take part of a special advanced workshop the day before the conference starts. All day, I'll be doing a workshop on marketing and merchandising strategies for digital retailing. and my brother Glenn will be doing sales process and communication strategies for digital retailing. So it's a win-win for dealers who lean in and come out to Napa. If this is the first time you're listening to a podcast, you should know that every Monday I release a new podcast with industry leaders and disruptors. And this Road to DMSC series, every 4 to 5 days, I'll be interviewing one of the sponsors of the show, the people who are coming with some amazing data and stories to share. So make sure you stay tuned to the Road to DMSC series, which has started in May and will run all the way up to the conference in July. Kerri, thank you so much for your time. Thank you, everyone who's listening, and we look forward to spending time with you on a future podcast session.